Ever noticed how history seems to have a peculiar way of always starting with Europe? It is as if the rest of the world was just sitting around in a cosmic waiting room until Europe decided to have its quote-unquote moments. Picture the world in the 15th century. In 1492, while Columbus was getting lost in the Atlantic, Indian astronomers were perfecting their celestial calendars, and the great universities of Bharat had already produced centuries of mathematical innovations that Europe would later claim to discover. But how exactly do you convince the entire world to believe that your story is the story? That is thanks to the greatest marketing campaign in human history, the selling of European superiority. And the blueprint is worth a study. First, there is the brilliant branding strategy. They didn't just have a Renaissance, they had the Renaissance. Not just enlightenment, but the Enlightenment. See that capital T? That's not typography, that's ownership. It's like naming your local coffee shop the coffee shop and somehow making the entire world believe that no other coffee shop ever existed before. The timeline manipulation was particularly artful as well. Imagine convincing the world that your local calendar is everyone's calendar. Never mind what everyone else was doing before that. Apparently, it was all just a very long prequel. Europe pulled this off so smoothly that 1492 became everyone's plot twist. Suddenly, the world's story began with 3 European ships sailing west, conveniently ignoring that there were already several blockbuster civilizations running their own shows. The linguistic gymnastics are even more impressive. They created a binary world. You're either modern or traditional. Rational became code for thinks like us, and orthodox became shorthand for stubbornly refuses to think like us. It is like creating a game, writing the rules, and then criticizing others for not having played it before you invented it. If you weren't playing by European rules, you weren't really playing at all. But the real masterpiece, the education system. The education system became their Netflix, streaming European content worldwide. And the ingenious knowledge, that got relegated to the foreign films category, subtitles and all. European knowledge systems were installed as the default operating system for understanding the world. Your local wisdom suddenly needed validation from a European peer review system. Need to understand your own history? Sorry, that requires validation from someone who's never set foot in your country. The religious angle added another layer of complexity. Columbus wasn't just an explorer with questionable navigation skills. He was supposedly delivering divine renovation services to people whose spiritual homes were already fully furnished. He was on a divine mission to quote-unquote liberate people who never asked to be liberated, who did not need any sort of liberation. It's like someone bursting into your meditation session with a megaphone, claiming they are here to save you from all that peace and quiet. The conceptual takeover was comprehensive. From how we understand nature to how we structure our societies, European thinking became the invisible default setting. Your entire world was explained back to you in a foreign accent, and you just had to nod along. This narrative still echoes today. Societies worldwide are still measuring their progress on Europe's scale, wondering why their perfectly good meters don't quite line up with foreign yardsticks on a scale that they did not create. So what's the solution? It's time for different regions, especially ancient civilizations like India, to reclaim their narrative. Not by rejecting all things European, but by recognizing that Europe's story is just one story among many. It is about understanding that the history is actually a history. The world's story has always been written in multiple scripts, not just the Latin alphabet. It is time for different regions to hit restore factory settings on their narratives. Asia, Africa, the Americas. They are not supporting characters in Europe's main plot. They are stars of their own epics. When Fibonacci introduced Indian mathematical concepts to Europe, he sparked a revolution. When Indian cotton and steel making techniques reached Europe, they fueled the Industrial Revolution. True human progress has always been a global conversation. The question isn't whether to accept or reject the European narrative. It's about restoring all the other chapters that were quietly edited out of humanity's book.